You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's get into the next discussion now. The governorship candidates in Saturday's election have signed a peace accord in Ekiti, Ado-Ekiti, to ensure a peaceful conduct of the poll there. TVC News senior political correspondent Ado-Ekiti monitored the event and now reports.
The peace accord signing ceremony for the governorship candidate in Ekiti State was put together by the National Peace Committee. The event, which took place in Ado-Ekiti, the state capital, was attended by representatives and candidates of political parties participating in Saturday's governorship election, civil society organizations, traditional rulers, and journalists.
The NPC came into being.
The convener of the National Peace Initiative, Bishop KUKAH, highlighted achievements recorded by the committee and said previous events in off-season election since 2020 has yielded fruits. He stressed that it has helped douse political tension during elections.
We again appeal to all the political actors to ensure that they do not see the signing of the peace accord as a mere formality and a photo opportunity. May the friendship exhibited here follow you through the elections. And please note that at the National Peace Committee, we are exploring the possibilities of strengthening this accord so that those who sign it appreciate the weight, the consequences of their breaches.
Political parties and candidates.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, said credible elections can only be conducted in a peaceful atmosphere. He urged stakeholders to play by the rules before, during, and after the election.
The success of the peace accord rests on three pedestals: the political actors, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and the security agencies. Speaking for INEC, I wish to assure the Peace Committee of our commitment to transparent and credible elections.
The governorship candidates took turn to sign the peace pact and exchange embrace and handshakes.
That means we're expecting 2 persons from each.
I appeal that no action capable of threatening our bond of unity in Ekiti State.
The National Peace Committee is a non-governmental initiative conceptualized in 2014 in response to emerging threats in electoral circles. At inception, the committee had a broad-based mandate to make modest contributions towards smooth and peaceful conduct of elections across the country. Ado-Ekiti, TVC News, Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State.
Joining us via Zoom now is the Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Hassan Matthew KUKAH. It's nice to have you, my Lord. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Great.
Good morning, Bishop. You were saying there that they should not just see this as a paper on which to just sign. Given all the experience you've had since the formation of the Peace Committee, how can you differentiate between the peace accord and the accord in the minds of the aspirants so far?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, and I really want to thank the media for the massive coverage and the show of interest in this process. I think the most important point for us to make is that the onus is actually on the people who are stepping forward and asking Nigerians to vote and, repose their trust in them. What we do is akin to two people, a man and a woman, a young man and a young woman, stepping forward to the altar and asking to be blessed as husband and wife. Now, that's about the best that we can do. Fixing the sorting out things remains their responsibility. But the good thing is that the quality and caliber of people you invite to witness your show of love should determine more or less how you conduct yourself. So the first thing to say is that the work of the Peace Committee is merely to help inspire Nigerians, but also inspire the contestants. To aim at something higher and more noble, and to appreciate the fact that to step forward to be considered for holding public office in a country is not a small thing. So really, our intention, our aim is to inspire people, but also we carry the burden, we carry the hopes, we carry the fears of ordinary Nigerians and present them. So really, it's a show of encouragement, and that INEC remains the statutory body that we try to encourage and support. So really, the rest of it is based on how the politicians react, but also we Nigerians have to then, gear up and be ready to continue to encourage them, to keep to their promises.
So, Bishop, what is the level of buy-in, or what was the level of buy-in of the participating political parties at the signing of the peace accord in Ado-Ekiti?
It's a very good question, and I think it also poses a challenge for us as members of the Peace Committee. The first thing is that when we got together in 2014, we did not really anticipate that we will go beyond the 2015 elections. In fact, the title of the Peace Committee was the Peace Committee for the 2015 elections. It was the massive support that we received, from a wide range of Nigerians, from the president himself to the former president, Goodluck Jonathan. We met with them. We met with the National Assembly, the Senate president and his team, the speaker and his team, the media and civil society groups. And we thought we were just going to finish with the 2015 elections and everybody will go. So the result is that we now need, to answer your question, we now need a broader form of engagement so that these things don't just become ceremonials. Perhaps going forward, the lessons we are learning is that the Peace Committee will need to begin to engage these processes so that they don't just become something that is a one-off that happens just before the election. So we are, we are harvesting a lot of views and suggestions with a view to strengthening, the work of the Peace Committee, but also forcing the commitment, of those who signed the paper to understand and appreciate the meaning of what they are signing.
But was it massive? Can we say it was a total participation by all the 16 political parties in Ekiti State?
Well, look, we invite people. Those who are serious will come. As you know, with due respect, there are a good number of political actors that have turned this whole political process into a bit of a joke, in the sense that you have people who you really don't know whether serious by deciding to set up a political party, whether they were serious by deciding to present themselves as candidates. So by a particular process, some people weed themselves out of the process. So we don't have an obligation to ask who is in the room. We have a list of all the people who have stepped forward to say they would like to participate in the election and contest as governors. It's not our business to bring everybody in. So those who came are those who showed seriousness and willingness to participate in the electoral process. So we don't measure our success by how many people turned up. It's not, so we measure our commitment by those who believe that they are serious contenders in this process. So naturally, there are people who will fall by the wayside because they probably were not serious, when they raised their hands or when they set up their political platforms.
All right, my lord, I know that when it comes to the guidelines on how this is going, the peace accord process, we're entrenching it and it's getting deeper by the day because everyone looks forward to it before any election now. But talk to us as you fine-tune and work looking forward. What will be the consequences like if those who have come out to sign the accord, eventually something happens at the course of the election and their supporters or even they themselves get involved in breaching the accord that they have signed? What's the scenario afterwards?
Well, if you follow the metaphor of marriage that I use, which I think is a good metaphor, for us in the Catholic Church, before you get married, there are people go through months and months and months of training, so that you understand what you are doing on the day that you sign the dotted lines. That's why I said it may be important now that even though we design mechanisms that help ordinary Nigerians to understand what the content of the peace is. And then, of course, to also engage those who are going to come up to sign this document in a particular kind of conversation. We are thinking through all this. In fact, again, you have to appreciate the fact that we are not spread across the 36 states of Nigeria. But I think that going forward, working with civil society, we hope to begin to design mechanisms to respond to the fears and the anxieties of both ordinary Nigerians and the participants themselves. But clearly, as you see from the main text of the accord itself, it's very carefully worded. But a lot of the issues here are largely moral. You are appealing to the conscience of people. But conscience is no substitute for the law. I think that what we really require are pretty strong laws. And as you know, Nigeria is a country full of laws, but very, very little attention is being paid to, both the letter and the spirit of the law. So we are notorious lawbreakers, and a culture of unity has also meant that people believe they can do this and get away with it. I'm looking forward to the day that a politician running to be president or running to be governor can actually lose their, whether they win the elections, if there is evidence that they were involved in any kind of malfeasance, that they can lose their position. But again, that is not for the peace committee, because you'll be taking us to where we're really not supposed to go. So it is really a question of the application of the legal frameworks. I'm happy to hear from the members of the House of Representatives the struggle about trying to set up a different body to try people who are guilty of electoral offenses. If you speak to the INEC chairman, he will tell you the tons and tons and tons of court cases that they are having to face. So it's a lot of issues, but I don't think they now should be setting up different kinds of bodies to respond to these things. But as I say, going forward, this is a conversation that all Nigerians need to have.
Okay.
Yeah, Bishop. The last major elections that you people were involved in was the Anambra elections. Now, would you really tell Nigerians who are still skeptical about Nigerian elections, or even cynical about Nigerian elections, whether we have reasons for hope?
Well, I have said it severally that Nigerians have earned the right to be cynical about politics, to be cynical about those who govern them, to be cynical about the intentions of those who seek to govern. Because nobody is a stranger to the realities that we face in this country. And leaders after leaders have demonstrated the tendencies to be serial human rights violators and with very little commitment to resolving the problems that ordinary Nigerians face. Now, unless and until those who govern us come to terms with the reality that being entrusted with the responsibility of running the affairs of a people is beyond just a moral trust, but it is also a responsibility and a duty. It will be difficult for people like us to, let's say, even talk about persuading our people to be engaged. But we continue nonetheless to encourage Nigerians to go out and vote. But you are you know very clearly yourself that Nigerians, there is a saying in Hausa, that is, if the soap you bought to wash your cloth is very expensive, how the cloth looks after you've washed it justifies the amount of money that you spend. Nigerians know one and all that beyond just the tiny minority continue to look at themselves after elections, we have had very little reason to celebrate democracy. Because democracy was not just about us going out to vote. It was also about processes. It was about equity. It was about fairness. It was about creating a sense of belonging and a sense of participation. But, day after day, regime after regime, what we see is a group of people that just become incestuous in the sense that it is only they and their party members. The processes of reward are so skewed that by and large, over 90% of ordinary citizens are dealt, a very bad hand. Today, how do we explain the fact that after over 60 years, we cannot deliver power to our people? How do we explain the fact that after over 60 years, we don't have roads in Nigeria, and that the quality of life of ordinary Nigerians is increasingly depreciating? So, and we are looking at countries that have survived wars, countries that came behind us are less resource endowed, doing so well. So it's an uphill task trying to convince Nigerians. And I can tell you, because I've been a foot soldier in this process for the better part of 30 or 40 years. So it's very, very frustrating. But the Nigerian political elite must give ordinary people a reason to believe that, one, they can be trusted, and two, that they are ready to do the right thing. Because the justice system is so severely manipulated against ordinary people. Whether it's the National Assembly, whether it's the judiciary, Nigerians find themselves totally incapacitated in terms of how to deal with the people that they've elected into power. And like my friend Ado-Ekiti once said, he said Nigerians, the elected elite, believe that Nigerians have elected them to enjoy on our behalf. So that we are facing the kind of things we are facing, insecurity, people are dying. And like I said yesterday, the people dying in Nigeria in a week are more than the number of people who dying in Ukraine, where wars are being fought with the most sophisticated weapons. So for me, it's a very painful thing, really, really very painful, that we are making such slow progress, and that the people who are getting on the bandwagon on the driver's seat don't seem to appreciate the existential threat that our nation faces. So, for me, these are the issues. But what do we do? I'm an apostle of hope. I continue to encourage our people but beyond a particular point, we just have to stop and think. So the political class must give us a reason to believe that democracy has the capacity to deliver on its dividends.
Your safety and also of your priests, because, not long ago there was a killing, blasphemy killing, and there were questions about whether your life was in danger, and your priests and some of them being kidnapped. Please, can you talk a little bit to that that problem that you challenge?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your concern. But let me tell you, I live in Sokoto, and I can tell you that for the last 10, going 11 years that I've been in Sokoto, I found Sokoto the most peaceful place, that I could ever be in. I feel secure. I don't feel any sense of threat, contrary to what a lot of people might think. I'm convinced that what happened in Sokoto, the killing of this young girl, is a one-off, something that didn't reflect who the people of Sokoto are. And as you have seen from subsequent developments, not too long after that, a similar thing happened in Abuja. Then we're hearing stories about a young man who went to a prostitute and then stole her money. The prostitute follows him, and then he comes back, and they say they found a copy of the Quran under her pillow. Suddenly he mobilizes his friends. They decide to kill this person. Now, the truth of the fact is that we are in a democracy. We're not in a theocracy. Whatever the Holy Bible has to say, whatever the Holy Quran has to say, those things are important only to the extent that they inspire in those who believe in these books a sense of right and a sense of wrong. So the idea that somebody can say in this country that I can take the law into my hands because God has told me so, it is totally condemnable. But what is even more condemnable is that the government prefers to sit on its hands, and we hear nothing. And of course, when you say nothing, what you're doing is giving oxygen to these characters. So for me, when people talk about my personal security, it is about the security of all of us as Nigerians. Who is secure in this country? Really and truly, what part of this country is secure? Could anybody imagine that what happened in Owo, where the mass is going to be celebrated tomorrow, that it will happen, and Nigeria, and those people are looking at it as, okay, it concerns the people of Ondo, it concerns the people of the Southwest, and there is no real, can you imagine the impact if the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who can go on a condolence visit to a country that we have got no serious connection or relationship with, that the president of Nigeria cannot enter a plane and come to Owo? Can you imagine the image? Politics is optics. Politics is drama. Politics is theater. Can you imagine what it would have been like if the president of Nigeria got into a presidential plane and came to Owo and stood in that church, even if he said nothing? The signal it will send out to the perpetrators of this act. But when people do nothing, you simply give oxygen, maybe inadvertently, but you give oxygen to those who are perpetrating this thing, that they have, they can go on, nothing is going to happen. How do you expect this country to progress if at the highest level we are governed by a culture of unity, and at the lowest level people can take the law to their hands and get away with it? We cannot pretend to be a democracy. Even the worst form of dictatorship will not tolerate this kind of thing. So for me, this is why we elected people, to do the things to keep us safe. But we are not seeing any sign. And there are certain things you can't do anything about. But when they do happen, leaders must demonstrate a sense of revulsion. And they must send out a message to the perpetrators that this nonsense will be dealt with. We're not hearing that. So people are dying in numbers, they're dying in fractions. Does anybody care? Nobody cares. So and I warn, I'm not even a prophet of doom. The evidence is here before us. Our country is going under, is falling apart, right before our own eyes. And all we're thinking about is 2023 and what is going to happen. There has to be a country first.
All right, my Lord, we have to leave it here for now. We look forward certainly to having more times with you going forward. We've been speaking with Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Hassan KUKAH, and the convener of the National Peace Committee. Thank you very much for talking to us on TVC Breakfast.
Very much for having me, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Amen. Thanks again.